Okay, let's now turn to what really is a remarkable story. Luai Ahmed is a strong advocate for peace in the Middle East. He was raised, though, to hate Jews and to embrace terror. A Yemeni Swedish columnist and host at Builders of the Middle East. Have a look.
As Arabs, we need to admit that the West and Israel are not our oppressors. We Arabs are our worst enemies and biggest oppressors. We Arabs have killed and oppressed 1,000,000 times more of our own kind than the West and Israel. It was not the West or Israel that married off my mother when she was a child. It was my own people. It is not the West or Israel that has been bombing Yemen and killed over 400,000 Yemenis. It is our own people. It is not Israel or the West that has implanted Islamic extremism in the East and in the West. It is our books, it is our mosques, it is our imams, it is what we read and what we preach.
And I'm so pleased to say that he joins me now. Luai, thank you very, very much for your time. Your story is so powerful. I'd love to start with, what was the pivotal moment that changed your thinking?
I think the pivotal moment for me into thinking like more liberally would be my mother. I grew up watching my mom fighting for her rights to, take off the hijab, for her rights not to get married off as a child. So just watching my mother fighting for women's rights in Yemen. And the second pivotal moment would be moving to Sweden. And in Sweden, I was able to meet Jews for the first time ever, for example, and be able to see that there is a possibility for modernity and acceptance in human rights. So I think just these two things, watching my feminist mother, an actual feminist, not like the feminists in the West who fight for like free the nipple and pumping hormones into children. My mother actually fought for the real things, which is don't marry off women girls when they're children. Don't force women to wear the hijab. And because of that, we had a very big price to pay as a family. We've gotten death threats. They've attacked my family physically numerous times. So my mother was the inspirational muse that made me realize that my culture and my people need to change.
You mentioned feminists in the West, and you are so right, because I have despaired watching so many of them not accept the sexual violence of October 7, in fact, deny it outright, and essentially advocate for Hamas. Have you been blown away by the reaction of so many in the West?
To this very day, I am very speechless at how the left, most specifically the left, reacts to Islamic terrorism and Islamic terrorist groups. I mean, the liberals and progressives in the Arab world and in the Muslim world are really paying their blood just to speak up about the Islamic terrorists and Islamic conservatism. And we truly believe that the West would stand on our side and the left in the West would stand on our side and say Islamic terrorism is not the answer. We need to be more progressive and liberal and accept human rights, gay rights, and women's rights. And I am shocked to the core to see that the left in Sweden and the US and many parts of the world are shaking hands with the Islamic terrorists that kill gay people, that kill women, that kill the people who are fighting for human rights in the Middle East and in the Arab world. So it is devastating to find out that the left is not our ally. The left has really joined forces with the people who are trying to eliminate us and take away our rights. I mean, it was ridiculous to me to see that the Swedish government flew all the way to Iran and the woman wore hijab, the same hijab that you get killed for if you take off in Iran. So it is absolutely ridiculous and devastating to see how the left is not on our side, is not on the side of the women and the minorities in the Middle East who are oppressed by these forces.
Tell me what the solution is, and this is the million, billion, zillion dollar question, but how do we fix this long, awful problem? Can we?
Well, I think when you say we, then you're talking about from the Western point of view. And from the Western point of view, the first thing that needs to happen is stop relativizing and supporting the Islamic terrorist forces that are oppressing and killing us.
Yes.
Stop shaking hands with the Islamic terrorists and then calling the right wing fascists and Nazis and extremists. The actual fascists and Nazis and extremists are the Islamic terrorists who kill
Yes.
women, who kill gay people, who relativize the murder and slaughter of the Jewish people. Those are the enemies, and we need to understand the right wing and the left wing in the West. We need to understand this. We need to grapple with the fact that the Islamic terrorists are trying to come to all of us, the right wing and the left wing. It doesn't matter in their eyes. We see how in Israel they slaughtered the Muslims and they slaughtered the Jews. They don't care about who they slaughter as long as they slaughter the people who stand against them. And people in the West need to stop supporting or relativizing this danger because it has destroyed the Middle East. It is destroying the Middle East. And it's so sad to see that it's starting to destroy the West. We need to put an end to it.
Before I let you go, I hate defining anyone by their sexuality because, as I say about my brother who's gay, it's the least interesting thing about him. You are a gay man. What do you think when you see rainbow flags right next to the flags of Hamas, per se, in Western countries?
It makes me want to cry, because I fled Yemen because of Islamic terrorism that wants to kill me because of my sexual identity. And I come to the free West and I come to this part of the world thinking I can be myself. I can, hold my partner's hand and scream, I am gay and I am proud and I don't care for the haters. And then I see these people, leftists, carrying these flags that represent my death. It is so depressing and it is so gut-wrenching, and that's why I speak up and I fight against this madness, because I think that the core of it is ignorance and not knowing and understanding that these flags and these groups are really the worst oppressors of gay people, of women, of Jewish people in the Middle East and in the rest of the world. So it is up to us to educate these people and let them know that these flags do not represent equality and human rights, but the exact opposite.
Yeah, I worry that education isn't enough. Luai Ahmed, you are a shining light. Thank you so much for using your voice and doing it so bravely. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.